Ever walked into a doctor's office and wondered, what if, instead of a doctor, it was an AI diagnosing me?
Hmm. Interesting thought.
It sounds kind of sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
But AI in healthcare is a hot topic, and this new research paper we're diving into today, oh, it's really exploring that possibility.
Absolutely. And what makes this paper stand out is it's not just theoretical. They've actually created this, it's called CLIBENCH.
CLIBENCH.
Again, it's like a huge, complex medical exam, but for AI.
So, like, are we talking AI medical school finals here?
Yeah, you can think of it that way. CLIBENCH tests how well AI can make actual clinical decisions, and not just simple diagnoses either. We're talking about whether AI can look at patient data and figure out if they need surgery, order the right lab tests, even prescribe medicine.
Wow, they're really putting these AIs through their paces. And to make it even
hmm
more realistic, they're not using, like, made-up patients, right?
Exactly. They're using the MIM-FE data set,
Mm.
which has thousands of real patient records from a hospital, all different specialties too.
Oh, wow. So each AI is basically handed a stack of anonymized charts and told, okay, play doctor. So who are these AI contenders? Give us the rundown.
Well, we've got some big names in the AI world. You've got Mistral, LLaMA, even some from the famous GPT family like GPT 3.5 and
There's
GPT-4.
the GPTs.
Let's see.
Everybody wants to know how they do.
Right. And they threw in both general purpose AIs and some specifically trained on medical data, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, like a little head-to-head, who will have the edge. So how they do? Can these AI doctors keep up with their human counterparts?
Well, the results are fascinating, although the researchers call them preliminary, so the investigation is still ongoing. Turns out diagnosing patients, even from, detailed medical records, really tough, even for AI.
Yeah, I can imagine. All that medical jargon, sometimes I can barely understand it myself.
Right. So none of the AIs got it perfect. Some showed promise, but they struggled, especially when it came to pinpointing really specific conditions within a broader category. Seems AI is better at the big picture, like knowing there's a heart problem, but not so much the nuances that determine the best treatment.
So they might know something's wrong, but figuring out exactly what and what to do about it, that's the tricky part.
Exactly.
What about the other stuff? CLIBENCH's tests, like
Yeah.
recommending procedures or lab tests, how they do with that?
That's where things get even more, well, interesting, I guess you could say.
Oh, okay.
Procedures and lab tests, those were the toughest for the AIs, even more than diagnosis or figuring out meds. One theory is it's about the data itself.
Interesting. What do you mean?
Well, think about it. Diagnoses, treatments, medications. Doctors are always talking about those, writing about them. There's tons of info out there. But procedures and lab tests, they're more standardized. Less discussion, maybe not as much data publicly available for the AI to learn from.
Ah, so it's not just how much data, but the type of data.
Right. And this really highlights how important the training data is for AI. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Totally. But wait, wasn't there something about how some AIs did better because they were specifically trained to follow instructions?
Oh, yeah. Like with those LLaMA models, the instruct versions, those consistently did better.
So even AI needs a good teacher, huh? More structure, clearer instructions, and they perform better.
It seems that way.
Mm.
Now, you mentioned GPT-4 before, and everybody wants to know, how did it do? Well, it did do pretty well, especially compared to the open source models. But GPT-4, that's a closed system, not as accessible.
Ah, right, right.
So it makes you wonder, if we're talking healthcare, should the base AI be available to everyone? Or will it be about who has access to these maybe more powerful but less transparent models?
Yeah, that's a big question, especially with something as important as healthcare.
Absolutely. And it touches on this bigger issue of, fairness and access in the age of all this rapidly changing technology. But let's get back to the research for a sec. One thing that really struck me was even AI, with all its algorithms, it's not totally immune to bias.
Wait, really? AI can be biased.
It's not that it's trying to be, but it learns from data, right? And that data, well, it can reflect biases that already exist in the world.
So if the data's flawed, the AI's output could be too.
Exactly. Which is why it's so important that the people designing these AIs are super aware of potential bias in the data, especially in healthcare.
For sure. The last thing you'd want is AI making things even more unequal. So more data, but also better, more unbiased data.
Right. And another thing we tend to think, more data always equals better results with AI, right? But this study found that the complexity of the case, that makes a difference too.
What do you mean?
Yeah, like imagine you're putting together this huge puzzle,
Right.
and someone just keeps dumping more and more pieces on the table. At some point, it's not just about having all the pieces, it's about making sense of it all.
So AI has potential in medicine, but maybe not quite ready to replace doctors just yet. I mean, where does this leave us? Are we going to see AI doctors taking over, or is that still a ways off?
Well, based on this research, it seems like we're still in the early stages. AI doctors, that might be a long way off. But AI as a tool for doctors, that's something that could happen sooner.
Okay, so AI assisting physicians, not replacing them. What would that actually look like?
Imagine an AI that's like a tireless medical assistant, you know? It can analyze tons of patient data, maybe flag potential problems, even just diagnoses or treatments. And it's always up to date on the latest research.
So doctors could use that to free up their time to actually interact with patients, Do what humans do best.
That's the idea.
Yeah,
Using AI to make healthcare more efficient, more effective, but also more human.
I like it. This research really makes you think about how AI and medicine will work together in the future. Any final thoughts on this one?
Well, one thing that struck me is the research focused on AI looking at data and making decisions in the moment.
Hmm.
But what if? What if AI could predict future health issues?
Oh, wow. You're talking about AI that could see health problems before they even start. That'd be amazing, but also kind of, I don't know, a little scary.
Right. Imagine AI analyzing your genes, your lifestyle, everything, and then telling you, hey, watch out for this down the road. Preventative healthcare could be totally different.
Yeah, like a crystal ball for your health. But that brings up a ton of questions, right? Like, what do we even do with that kind of information, and how do we make sure it's used responsibly?
Exactly. Because with AI, it's not just about what it can do, but what it should do.
Well said. It's an exciting time, though. Can't wait to see what happens next.
Me neither. It's
Yeah.
going to be fascinating to watch it all unfold.
And that's our deep dive for today. Until next time, everyone, keep those brains engaged.